Halloween is almost here, but you still have plenty of time to cook something fun for the holiday. The recipes I've chosen today came from Pinterest. I'm going to link all three of them in the description down below. They are from various blogs. But I think that a lot of us know that Halloween food is often more about decoration and garnishing than it is about how it tastes. Of course, you can incorporate fall flavors like pumpkin or warm, hearty dishes like chilies and things like that. But it's really about fun decoration. The three dishes I've chosen today are super easy to make, and you could do them very last minute, whether you're having a Halloween party or you just want to add a little bit of whimsy to your everyday life. I spotted this very cute jack-o'-lantern buffalo chicken skillet dip on Pinterest. I pinned this months ago because I was like, I definitely want to make this for Halloween. I am modifying it slightly because I have a different idea for what I want to dip in the actual buffalo chicken dip. You can, truthfully, you can just kind of make your favorite recipe. This is really more about how the end result looks. So just use your favorite buffalo chicken dip recipe. I'm gonna try this one just because I want to. So I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees. So first off, I'm cutting the recipe in half. So the full recipe, you're supposed to use like a 12-inch cast iron skillet. I have an 8-inch here that I have greased. So we're gonna try that and see how it goes. Pretty simple, pretty standard buffalo chicken dip recipe. I have 4 ounces of softened cream cheese. We're gonna just get it right in the bowl. 1.25 cups of canned shredded chicken. I'm using canned chicken for this. You can use whatever kind of cooked chicken you have. This was in my pantry. I was like, oh, I have to probably cook some chicken or get a rotisserie chicken. And I was like, wait, I think I have canned chicken in my pantry. So this is a great pantry recipe too. If you have all these things, or normally keep them. Also have 1/4 cup of buffalo sauce, whatever kind you like. You can even do a homemade buffalo sauce. I really like buffalo chicken. If you don't, you could probably do just about any kind of orange colored dip. Anything that is orange that looks like a jack-o'-lantern you could do this with. I also have 1/4 cup of ranch dressing. I have 1/2 cup of finely shredded cheddar cheese, adding to the oranginess. So you just gotta mix all of that together. I don't have any other seasonings in here because the ingredients are already pretty heavily seasoned with that ranch dressing. The buffalo sauce that I'm using is of a medium spice level. So choose your spice level carefully, whatever you and your guests will enjoy. A lot of times I'll make buffalo chicken dip in the slow cooker as well, but this is just kind of a fun way to feature it for a Halloween celebration. It smells really good already. So you can see this is very well mixed. I took another look at the recipe and apparently I was supposed to set aside some of that shredded cheese. It's okay, it's okay. I'm just gonna shred up some more to put on top after, it's been baked a little bit. So don't let my cheese mistake ruin your day. You just do what you want to do. This is not gonna hurt anything. So I've got my greased 8-inch cast iron skillet. Very spooky. Something about cast iron is very Halloween to me. I use it year round, but I think it's like cauldrons, Cauldrons are like black cast iron things with potions in them. Oh gosh, it smells so good. Yeah, I'm a fan. Oh, I think this is gonna work out really well size-wise. So 1/2 of a recipe of this buffalo chicken dip can go in a smaller skillet. Just gonna smooth that a little bit. We're not gonna have that very perfect edge from the biscuits or the bread dough, I guess it is, but it's still gonna look very cute. All right, yes, I'm excited. I am excited. You add the features at the end, so it doesn't look like a jack-o'-lantern yet, but eventually it will. So I'm gonna bake this at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes, and then I gotta take it out and sprinkle some cheese on top and cook it for an additional 5 minutes. Great. Will you look? It smells so good. Actually, let me get my oven glove. I can't touch this at all without, putting something on my hands, but it's very liquidy. You could stop here if you don't want to add more cheese or decorate it as a jack-o'-lantern, but of course I want to do those things. So I have a little extra cheese that I grated up, even though I was supposed to set some aside. I forgot / didn't pay attention. So this has got to go back in the oven for about 5 minutes. You can see how beautiful and hot and bubbly this is. Again, oven glove, I need it. I'll drop in a picture of what I'm going for so you can kind of see. This skillet is smaller, so the proportions might be a little bit funky. I found these Halloween chips, at one of my local stores, and I got these mostly because it was the least expensive option for me to get some blue corn chips. So there's a mix of orange and blue in here. Let's see if we can find some that are suitable. A little flatter maybe. Could probably break some too. These are kind of nice for the eyes. Yeah, or like that. I'm gonna do it like that. Whoa. There's a lot of real estate that these eyes take up. And I think I'm gonna break one for the nose just because I want it to be like a little smaller. Actually, you know what? I think that works. We'll put that there. And then they did sort of a wiggly, like zigzaggy thing with the olives. I don't know. I think I need to get them closer together. And I know some of you don't like olives, but this is such a garnishy thing, like easily you could take these off. You don't, you know, you can still enjoy the buffalo dip probably, or you can figure out a different solution for your jack-o'-lantern's mouth. Mine's not as cute. Actually, mine has personality, I think. You know, personality. Sometimes it's even more important than cuteness. I love it. Let me turn this around, hold on. Let's take a look. Wow. I don't want to tip it because it's still kind of liquidy, but like, yeah, I'm happy with it. I said I had a different idea for something that I wanted to dip in the buffalo chicken dip, and it's these witch hat Halloween appetizers. I thought, oh, perfect. This is very appropriate. It's like a tube of crescent roll dough, some butter, some herbs, and you know, you end up with something really cute that goes right along with your jack-o'-lantern buffalo chicken dip. Also, the temperature is very similar. So it says to bake your witch hats at 350. The packaging on these crescent rolls, it's 375. I tend to go with whatever it says on the package, especially with vintage recipes. This is not a vintage recipe, but for recipes in the past, the formulation of some of these pre-packaged refrigerated goods has changed, and so the temperature or like the method or the time may have also changed. So I stick usually to what it says on the package. So I am going to be upping the temperature of my oven on just a little bit, but it's pretty close to 350. Now, it's been a while since you've seen me open a tube of crescent roll dough. I know that some of you find it very entertaining because it does scare me a little bit, and this is Halloween, so of course it is appropriate to be just a little bit scared, isn't it? I'm going to be brave as I can be. So I'm going to open this up. I'm just gonna hold it right there. I know it's not gonna go right away because I think you have to press a spoon. I don't usually do that. I usually knock it on the counter. Did it again. Got me again. Talk about trick or treat. Okay, it's fine. Get me, just... It detonated in my hand. Okay, you're supposed to separate this into the 8 triangles. So I'm gonna do that. I think I might actually need a bigger baking sheet now that I'm looking at this. What am I doing? I got, like, that really threw me off. Oh goodness. Okay, 8 triangles. That is very witch hat-esque, like a little bit jaunty. I might even curl the edges of some of these just to make them look extra fun and spooky. That one's not cooperating. I'm being pretty fast and loose and casual about all of this. Might need a bigger baking sheet, or maybe just a second baking sheet. I'm gonna have to wash 2 at this point anyway. Move some of them over here. You can kind of fit these on the sheet however it works out for you. I'm gonna do some like that. I'm gonna kind of like pull and reshape a little bit of the dough too, just to make it a little more like triangular rather than like slanted. Some of them I kind of like that way though. You got to brush all of them with melted butter. So I have 2 tablespoons of just regular butter that I've melted in the microwave. So they're all gonna get a brush. Now you could probably do, if you really wanted to stick with that like buffalo theme, you know, I'm doing just what it says in the recipe, which is dried parsley and a little bit of garlic powder. You could probably do like ranch seasoning if you want to be like very ranchy about it. I gotta sprinkle the things. So this is a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of parsley, dried parsley. I'm gonna mix them together. We're just gonna do that. I don't know why I measure them this way. This is like the smallest possible vessel. I think I thought I was gonna add them to the butter, but that is not really what you do. Just sprinkle. I feel like this is a lot of seasoning. Again, a super simple thing that is just like, it's more about how it appears, how it looks. I have a lot of stuff left. I'm just gonna set it aside. Now I have to take the straight edge along the bottom of each triangle and fold it up to make the brim of our witch hats. Oh, very cute. That's pretty cute. They kind of look like sailboats too. They'll look more like hats once we finish like all of the garnish. Look. Okay, see that? So now I have to bake these. It says 10 to 12 minutes in the recipe. Just follow your package instructions, I think. So you just bake them until they're golden brown, and then we have a little bit of garnish to put on them. Okay, I am pretty happy with how these turned out. They're nice and brown. I ended up baking these at 375 for, I think it was like 11 minutes. Here's the other pan, and they're nice brown. Yeah, so now I gotta do the which kind of garnishes. This would have been easier if I had purchased pre-sliced cheddar cheese. I didn't do that. I just sliced these little strips off the block. It's fine. So basically you just put one on each hat, like it's a hat band. Oh, this one might be my favorite. This is like the jauntiest of witch hats right here. And I think it's okay if they're all a little wonky because we're just having fun. And then take your olive rounds, which, hey, luckily I had some left from my jack-o'-lantern. You just put one like it's a little buckle kind of thing. I mean, you know what a witch hat looks like, right? Yeah, oh my gosh, stop it. Okay, I love these. I'm super happy with how they turned out. All right, so I'm pretty thrilled with how both of these items turned out. I'll kind of show you that a little bit. It has cooled slightly while I took photos and everything. So now I just have to try it, and I'm sure everything's gonna taste good. Now you could serve this with tortilla chips, something like very firm and solid to scoop. You know, these are crescent rolls. They're kind of firm. They're a little, you know, they're bready. So I'm gonna scoop with a spoon. Oh yeah, I'm excited. Oh my gosh, it's still very hot. Oh wow, this is probably too big of a bite. I'm gonna try it anyway. I knew it was gonna taste good. And this just like makes it a little bit more fun and Halloween. I'm enjoying myself immensely. But next I have a little sweet treat that's very simple. Just an easy thing you can make either to give out at like, I don't know, kids party or just have at your own Halloween party yourself. Oh my gosh. My final Halloween treat is going to be these dipped ghost wafer cookies. And I hesitate to call it a recipe because it is just kind of like decorating these kind of wafer cookies. So not Nilla wafers, but vanilla wafers. You can get these in other flavors like chocolate or strawberry as well. Did anybody else call these ice cream cookies? We did. I think my mom actually grew up calling them that, and that's probably why I did too. Anyway, there's kind of like a very thin, crispy wafer with some icing in between each layer. I'm sure people have different names for them. But anyway, so you need some of these. You need some candy melts or white chocolate chips. For the candy melts, just follow the instructions on the back of the bag on how to melt them. For white chocolate chips, you might need to treat them just slightly differently and add a little bit of oil to them. But I'm just gonna melt these in the microwave. To decorate them, I have little candy eyes. And then I've poured some chocolate into a little dish here that I'm gonna use a toothpick to paint on the mouth. So I'll melt that as well. I'm not giving exact amounts for any of this because, you know, it's pretty fly by the seat of your pants. And I suppose you could also buy different colored candy melts if you wanted to do like orange candy melts for a jack-o'-lantern cookie or green for Frankenstein's monster. I made dipped Halloween pretzels, and like those are one of my favorite things I've ever made on this channel. I think they were so cute. So this is kind of like reminding me of that. So I'm just gonna go ahead, put some of these in a microwave safe bowl, and then I'm gonna melt them. All right, that did not take long at all, probably about 1.5 minutes. Of course, your mileage is gonna vary depending on what kind of candy melts you have and your microwave and all of that. So it is helpful, I believe, to have a spoon here to sort of like spread the candy melts onto your wafer cookie, but just take a wafer, dip it on in there. I saw a lot of different iterations of this on Pinterest. Some of them were like just dipped a little bit at the top. Some of them were like fully dipped. I'm kind of going 2/3 of the way maybe. Let some of it drip off as well. Yeah, and you can kind of like shake it a bit. And I've lined a baking sheet with a baking mat, or you can use wax paper, just something that you're gonna be able to like peel these off once they cool. I'm gonna go ahead and place my little eyes right away because I think I need to work a little bit fast once the candy melts are like on the cookie. I'll paint the mouths on like afterward. Oh my gosh. Can you see that? That's incredible. Anyway, let's do another one. I'm using the smallest eyes. I think that's kind of like the best option. I could go weird and googly. And I'm gonna do one with big eyes and see like the next size up. Spoon some of this over a little bit. When I was doing the pretzels, I have like a little dipping fork that works really well for those. These, I don't think it would, just because these are kind of like a bigger shape. They don't really fit on a spoon. Keep going here. I'm gonna go one size up, see how wacky that looks. Just drop them on there. Oh, that actually looks good too. Yeah, I like this kind of thing. This is an easy thing you could do just for fun, you know, even if you're not having a party. Just do this for your own enjoyment. Or maybe you want to give some cool stuff to your friends or coworkers or book club. All right, we're really gonna get kooky here. We're gonna go one big eye, one small. Okay, that might be my favorite. See if you can see that, I'm not sure. Ooh, they're sliding. Anyway, I'm gonna keep dipping these, and then once I've got a sheet full, or I run out of candy melts, I will paint on the mouths and show you. So I ended up getting about 20 of these out of one package of candy melts. I popped this tray in the fridge for maybe like 10 minutes, just enough to harden everything so that I can paint the mouths on. I just put a few chocolate chips into a little microwave safe dish, and you really only need to do 20 to 30 seconds at a time until this is just melted. You don't want to overdo it because the chocolate can kind of get weird and seize up and stuff. So I'm going to try to do this with like a toothpick, and you just want to put like a little like, oh no, ghost mouth kind of thing, I guess. Like they're making a ghostly sound. Ooh. That one's going to require a little bit of cleanup. There, yeah, so I have a second toothpick here that you can kind of move the chocolate around a little bit if things go awry. I do really like how the candy eyes look on these, but if you don't have them, just paint the eyes on with chocolate like I'm doing with the mouths. Okay, so I'm just going to take a few minutes and do this, and then we'll give them a try. Yeah, I'm very happy with how these turned out. A little bit wonky, just like I like them. Something about Halloween in general, and I guess other holidays too. I like it when decorations, food, maybe it's a little imperfect. It's kind of goofy looking. I like it. I don't know. You know, I kind of know what these are gonna taste like. I picked one that was a little bit messier than the others. We'll give those away, the nice ones away, and I'll try this one. Very sweet. I don't know that I would want to eat too many of these, but they sure are cute. I was just thinking, if you can find the lemon flavored wafer cookies, I think those would be really good with the white chocolate or white candy melts. I think that would be a good combination. These are just a heck of a lot of fun though, aren't they? As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the things I made today came from Pinterest. So I don't actually have a cookbook to share with you, but I thought I would look at and share with you some other ideas that I've pinned over the years on my Cooking the Books Halloween pin board. Yes, I have pin boards for cooking the books, and then also I have them divided into holidays, ads, invitations, cards, recipes, all kinds of things. Just to use in the future, but also just to look at for fun. You know, I've used Pinterest for quite some time, and yes, there are some things on there where it's like, this doesn't really relate to me, or I don't want to use this. I say that you can just kind of pick and choose the things you want and save them and just kind of ignore the rest, or you can even tell Pinterest, like, I'm not interested in this, or don't show this anymore. I've been on there for some time, and I've curated kind of like a lot of the things that I really enjoy. So this Jell-O Jigglers Creamy Pumpkin, that was definitely in the running for this year. The one reason that I really decided not to do it is it seems to make a lot of them, and I didn't want to make a lot of them, but it's something I might try in the future. I feel like Jell-O Jigglers, you know, basically it's like a sheet of Jell-O that you cut into shapes with cookie cutters. That was part of my childhood in a big way. Most of the Jell-O I consumed was probably either consumed when I wasn't feeling well or as like a finger jello kind of situation. I didn't do a lot of like jello salads. Much of the time, you know, it was made into something kind of like fun, and it was like an activity, you know. But I thought that the flavor on this would be really interesting. I've never thought of, or I don't think I've had Jello gelatin combined with like vanilla pudding. It could be good, actually, I think. And then of course the cute little pumpkin face. I wanted to give honorable mention to this Goblin Treats ad from 1991. I would have been 10 years old at this time, and that ad, like, I instantly had to save it because it was so nostalgic to me, you know, looking through my mom's family circle or Women's Day magazines and seeing things like that. This is a lot of the times, this is the kind of thing that I like to save on Pinterest, like vintage ads, especially if they have a recipe. And yes, 1991, not vintage to everyone, but it's vintage at this point. You know, I was a little kid when this came out. Yeah, that's something that is good to find on Pinterest and save for future reference. And I have cooked some recipes from these vintage ads. I believe I have a playlist, so I'll link that in the description down below if you're interested. Also have to talk about this Cool Whip pumpkin patch pie, also from the 90s. This is a perfect example of something that's like, you could make this pie for any occasion, but because you put a pumpkin on it, it is Halloween. So here's one from a little bit further back. This is a jack-o'-lantern breakfast. Super cute and pretty easy to execute, I think. You know, make pancakes and make them look like a jack-o'-lantern. Looks like the sausage links are kind of like hair. You know, if you have kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews, if you wanted to do something a little special for them, you could make these pancakes for breakfast or breakfast for dinner before they go trick-or-treating. And we cannot forget about the Weenie Witch. The Weenie Witch has appeared in many ads over the years. I will show a few of them here just because I have a lot of them saved. I feel like this was something that came out multiple times in magazines and publications, and I think it's adorable. The Weenie Witch, so much fun. I'm almost positive there are other creators out there who have made this. I haven't made it yet. Maybe someday. Maybe there's always next Halloween, right? There are a lot of good ideas out there that you can make for Halloween. You don't have to spend a lot of money or a lot of time on any of them. So let's talk about the recipes I made. Kind of. They're like kind of recipes, right? So the first one was this jack-o'-lantern buffalo chicken dip that I made in a cast iron skillet. Now the dip itself tasted really, really good to me. I love buffalo chicken dip. I loved the use of canned chicken. I don't usually use canned chicken in buffalo chicken dip when I make it in the slow cooker, but I will definitely think about doing that from now on because it was so easy. I did shred up the chicken a little bit in the can after I drained it because I prefer like that shredded texture to chicken in that kind of dip. But I think the flavor is really, really good. The buffalo sauce I used claimed that it was of medium spice level. I didn't find that to be true. It wasn't spicy at all. And it could have been like the cream cheese and the ranch dressing that kind of dampened the spiciness a little bit. Just take that into consideration. If you like it a little spicy, you might actually want to add some actual like Frank's Red Hot or cayenne pepper, or find a spicier buffalo sauce to use in this recipe. But I thought it turned out so adorable. I was so pleased with this. I scaled the recipe down so my skillet was a little bit smaller. It was 8 inches. So that meant that the blue corn chips that I used made my pumpkin have really, really large eyes, and I thought that was just hilarious. I love something wonky looking around the holidays, and especially at Halloween. If it looks a little like off kilter, I'm totally into it. And then I made these garlic bread witch hats to dip into the buffalo chicken dip. What a fantastic combination. I would do that again for sure. You know, the bread dough around the edge of the jack-o'-lantern dip was great. You can do that, but I really liked these witch hats, how cute they were and how well they went with the dip, really. I mean, you kind of can't go wrong with garlic bread. To me, I love garlic bread pretty much anytime. And it was just kind of sticking with the theme a little bit more, you know, just adding something extra to it. Really, really easy. You start with refrigerated crescent roll dough. I often have a tube of that in my refrigerator, so it's something that I could just kind of like whip up. And then finally, these dipped wafer cookie ghosts. And this one is especially about how they look more so than how they taste. It's just a vanilla wafer cookie with some candy melt or white chocolate. And so it made it very, very sweet. You know, I would not want to eat more than one of those probably, but they were so cute to look at. They were really, really festive. I think kids and adults both would enjoy them. But again, like this is very much about garnishing. Like I said, I hesitate to call this a recipe because this is really just about making something look a little bit spooky. I had so much fun putting all three of these recipes together. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it gave you some ideas on some last minute fun things you could put together for Halloween. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in my next video, and have a fantastic Halloween.